Good evening, everybody. My name is Vishwam Jindal, and I think we can now start the session. I'll sort of quickly just introduce the webinar, tell you a little bit about Webnia, introduce the speakers, and then I'm sure we're all waiting to actually hear the speakers themselves and engage in a meaningful dialogue. So very briefly, starting about Webnia first. So Webnia is essentially we started Webnia in 2020, and the vision was to basically build technology for grievance redressal and dispute resolution. So as part of grievance redressal, we provide a plug and play technology solution for grievance redressal. We work across sectors, but our biggest sectors is actually banking, finance, as well as media entertainment. And essentially the technology is, leverages AI, including generative AI now, machine learning, natural language processing. And our entire platform is available in sort of regional languages like Tamil, Telugu, Hindi, English, Marathi, Punjabi, Kannada. But essentially it's a plug and play solution compliant with regulatory mechanisms set out by the RBI, IRDI, SEBI, and in the media space by MITI, MIB, and other regulators, which companies can basically plug into it, also white label it, integrated with their own systems. And we've also done on cloud and on-premise deployments for a few enterprises. But essentially, the idea is to basically, provide technology that is useful for the businesses to manage their incoming and inflow of grievances, also to respond to those grievances, but also for the end users to give them a mechanism where they can file grievances in a manner that they understand and which is not overly complicated. So we've been doing it for 3 years and would love to sort of discuss this in more detail if any of you would like to see the product or just generally understand what we're doing. Uh, just moving into the topic, I think, grievance redressal within the finance sector, as we all know, stands as an anchor for consumer protection and is integral to upholding fair practices within the financial industry. Over the course of time, various frameworks have been instituted to address grievances and safeguard the interests of consumers. And one of the cornerstone of RBI's approach to grievance redressal lies in the establishment of the integrated ombudsman scheme. The scheme serves as a robust mechanism, empowering customers to lodge complaints against financial entities for deficiency in services. And it's a comprehensive coverage, actually includes a wide array of issues, ensuring that consumers have a recourse for a myriad of concerns that may encounter in their financial dealings. The overarching objective, of course, of grievance redressal, is to safeguard the rights of consumers while fostering transparency and accountability among financial institutions. It, of course, also builds a layer of trust in the financial sector as well. And by providing a structured platform for customers to voice their concerns and seek resolution, this framework becomes a pivotal instrument in building and maintaining trust and confidence in the system. So in today's webinar, we'll delve into how the multifaceted landscape of grievance redressal works in the financial sector. We'll explore some of the regulatory frameworks, the internal mechanisms, and the collective impact on customer and consumer relationships. Our esteemed speakers will share their perspectives and insights on the significance of effective grievance redressal and how we can maintain customer and consumer trust to build long-lasting relationships with them. I'll sort of quickly introduce our three eminent panelists today, and then I'll hand over to my colleague Sambhav to sort of start the webinar. So we're very privileged first to have Mrs. Satinder Kaur with us. Mrs. Kaur stands as an eminent figure in the realm of customer service and boasts an illustrious career spanning more than 3.5 decades. She started her professional journey at PNB, and she's has dedicated about 8 years to the institution before embarking on a 22-year tenure at ICICI Bank, where she served in various capacities. Ma'am has also worked with DBS Bank as the internal ombudsman for more than 3 years, and presently she brings a wealth of experience to Tata Capital, where she serves as the internal ombudsman. Throughout her career, Mrs. Kaur has steered organizations to serve millions of customers with unwavering dedication, and Mrs. Kaur's career trajectory underscores her commitment to excellence. Her dynamic leadership and extensive industry experience make her a true guru in customer service domain, and we're privileged to have her as a distinguished speaker in today's webinar. Welcome, ma'am, and thank you for joining us. We also have Mr. Thomas Kokot with us. Thomas emerges as a distinguished luminary with an extensive career exceeding 4 decades, primarily dedicated to Federal Bank in India. Throughout his career, Sir has demonstrated exceptional versatility, contributing significantly in diverse capacities. His impactful roles have encompassed the establishment of branches, the development and implementation of recovery policies, and the formulation of priority banking policies. With a keen eye for regulatory compliance, Sir has played a pivotal role in coordinating and overseeing RBI inspections, showcasing a nuanced understanding of the intricacies involved in liaising with RBI officials. His breadth of expertise extends to his tenure as the head of compliance risk within the Integrated Risk Management Department, where he navigated the complex landscape of compliance with finesse. Currently serving as the internal ombudsman at Muthoot Finance Limited, Sir continues to bring his wealth of experience to the forefront. His profound understanding of the financial sector, coupled with his extensive background in risk management, positions him as a key authority in today's landscape. Sir's enduring commitment to financial industry, coupled with his strategic insights, make him an invaluable asset to a speaker in today's webinar. Welcome, sir. And finally, last but not the least, we have Mr. Puneet Rastogi. Mr. Rastogi emerges as a seasoned professional with a distinguished career trajectory marked by significant contributions to the banking and financial sector. His journey commenced at ICICI Bank, where he dedicated over 9 years of service, showcasing versatility in various capacities. Post his tenure at ICICI, Mr. Rastogi further enriched his experience at Airtel Payments Bank, contributing to his expertise for over 2 years. Presently, he's serving as the nodal officer at PayTM Payments Bank, and he plays a pivotal role in the resolution of customer complaints filed with the RBI. His responsibilities extend to the coordination with various departments, ensuring that resolutions align with both RBI regulations and the internal guidelines of the bank. At the forefront of customer grievance redressal, he acts as a crucial point of contact for stakeholders and other parties involved in the complaint resolution process. As our esteemed speaker, Mr. Rastogi brings a wealth of practical insights into the intricacies of grievance redressal within the financial sector. Looking forward to this enlightening contributions. Welcome, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Good evening. Sambhav, may I request you to sort of take over, and I think we can just dive right in.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vishwam. To start off, so ma'am, you were supposed to start the webinar, but due to some technical issues, can I request Thomas sir to give the presentation first, and then we'll move on to ma'am.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Good evening to all. I am Thomas Kokot. I work out of Cochin, Ernakulam, as the internal ombudsman of Muthoot Finance. Now, I'm with Muthoot Finance for the last 2 years. As our in the introduction went, I was working with the Federal Bank for over 4 decades and in various capacities. So that is, and again, almost all these years I was in the banking in the industry and almost on the serving the customers directly. That was what my profile was. Like I was a branch head, I was a regional head, I was zonal in charge. So that was the kind of experience I had in the Federal Bank. Then after joining here in Muthoot Finance, I am looking at the grievance redressal from the perspective of an internal person. That is what I do right now. And I was expecting ma'am's presentation first so that I can continue with whatever she was telling, because I have seen her. I had opportunity to talk to her and listen to her back in Pune in one of our seminars. So I thought to start with, ma'am should have been the right person to start. Anyway, this is a huge responsibility on me because we have to be talking about the complaints redressal mechanism in the financial sector. Maybe going before that, I'll have a small introduction about the NBFC. Sorry. So, no, if you look at the financial landscape of the country, the RBI has been all along been trying to bring in financial inclusion all across. If you look at the financial inclusion index, which in 2017 in March, it was around 43%. Now, right now, at the end of March 23, it is about 60%. 60% means that is a kind of inclusion that is happened in a huge country like ours. So for that, the banks, the NBFCs, the last mile connectivity people who are giving you the support, that is a fintech firms, all these agencies together has helped the country to achieve a financial inclusion index of 60% or more. And in that journey, actually, the Jan accounts, the Aadhaar, the UPI payments, the proliferation of smartphones, and the kind of internet connectivity that we all have these days, all that has helped us. So there has been inclusive growth all across in this country in the financial sector all along. So when you have a um, customers plenty coming into the financial sector, in the formal financial sector, the informal area where there we cannot be making any grievances because that's a different area altogether. So in the formal sector, we are in a position to make grievance heard out, and then we are we look forward for a redressal in the first instance itself. That is where the RBI has been playing a big role through the ombudsman scheme. And the banks in the country had started getting the internal ombudsman about 5 years back, 4 or 5 years back. And in 2021, RBI mandated that every NBFCs, which have some certain categories, the NBFCs also should have internal ombudsman with them. So that was the start of the ombudsman scheme in the NBFC sector per se. So if you look at the NBFC sectors, financial inclusion part, we'll see the ombudsman scheme has helped in a lot. Like Amitabh Bachchan being the star campaigner for the ombudsman scheme, the scheme has taken its roots very well, and the customer today knows what his rights and what his abilities, or rather what he is expected to get from the sector. So the ombudsman scheme, I'll give a small brief. I thought the ma'am will be giving you this frame anyway. The brief is for the NBFCs. If you look at it, if any NBFC which is having more than 5,000 crores of AUMs and which is not a deposit-taking entity, they should have an NBFC. They should have an internal ombudsman with them. And if an NBFC, which is a deposit-taking entity, is having more than 10 branches, they must have an internal ombudsman. These are the basic regulations that has come into force in November 2021. And by April 2022, all the NBFCs of these categories were having the ombudsmans in their roles. And that is how the ombudsman scheme is working in the NBFC sector per se. I emphasize more on NBFC because that is the experience that I am having right across to talk in this gathering, where how we were able to resolve the complaints that we received, and how fast we were able to find solutions for the customers, and grievances. So I'll touch upon that area more closely, because if you look at the banks NBFC schemes, I'm sure the other banks in the ombudsman scheme, I might not be able to give you much of an idea because I had not touched on that. So the IO, the internal ombudsman, is actually the intermediary between the customer and the company. Like he is supposed to be reporting to the board, and he must be an intermediary between the customer and the NBFC, an independent authority where any grievance is rejected by the company partly or fully, or by the NBFC partly or fully, it must come to the internal ombudsman. So no complaint in the NBFC sector should be left unattended. That is the idea behind it. So every complaint which is coming to the company, the NBFC, first the company themselves will try to solve it. Then if the solution is not happening, or the solution was not on the expected lines, that complaint should be referred to the internal ombudsman. He will take a call on that, and if it is not possible to resolve from his side alone, then only it will be referred to the RBI. And the maximum time for a complaint to be resolved through the mechanism by the company and the ombudsman, internal ombudsman himself, is maximum 30 days. So the customer gets the response from the company within a maximum period of 30 days. That is the expectation, and that is actually happening in the industry today in a very, very planned way, in a very ideally modeled way. It is taking place, and that is my understanding. And I talked to many of the ombudsmans in other NBFCs also. They also share with me their experience of their ability to solve the customer grievances in a better way, in a more understanding way. So that is about the what we call the ombudsman's working. And if you look specifically about our company, because I can share those informations more closely because I am having those details with me. Like maybe if you look at the complaints as a uh, class of complaints, the maximum complaints that we get is in fact about the interest rate charged by the company, because normally the interest rates at the NBFC side will be little higher compared to the bankers. So that is one complaint is that is coming to us commonly. And another complaint that we get is about the rating agencies. Maybe the rating agency part we'll have a a long discussion later on. But then that is also a big number to our company, because for the last quarter, the quarter ended September, the company had altogether 221 complaints referred to the referred to it, and out of that, around 31 complaints were for the rating disputes alone. So that is something beyond the company's comprehension. But then that again, there again, we involve and we are able to solve those issues. Another complaint that comes is about the digital platforms, like because we have now umpteen number of digital platforms to make repayment of the loan, to get top-ups for the loans. There are umpteen number of services possible through the digital arena, but there are issues in the digital area also. Like we all know, like what happened to yesterday. One bank is now stopping their API transaction altogether because they have some complaints. And the last month we have heard about a bank being asked not to open any more online accounts. So these are all things that is happening on the online platform. That is also another area of complaint by the customers. Out of the 221, we had around 27 complaints for the digital platforms alone. And then there is another area of complaint is about the legal heirship, like when the customer passes away during the currency of the loan, and how to release that ornaments. Because I tell you, because Muthoot is one company which is doing the maximum gold loan. Around 90% of our AUM is from the gold loan business alone. So we have this complaint also in a big way coming to us. Last month we had around 17 complaints for the legal, last quarter rather, 17 complaints about the legal issues, and that we had sorted. In fact, we have resolved all these complaints that we received through the ombudsman's office. So I was just giving you some idea about the nature of complaints coming to us, and plus there are complaints about delay at the counters, misbehavior by the staff, auctioning of the gold ornaments without informing them. All that is coming to us, but then we are in a position to find solutions for the complaints in a big way. Not all the complaints, because some of the complaints cannot be resolved fully. Even after RBI's involvement, we are not able to find a solution for those complaints. In fact, out of the 221 complaints, 36 complaints could not be solved even by the RBI. So that was the position of the complaints at the end of our quarter. So this is, I was giving you some idea about the kind of complaints coming to the company and how we solve it. And the good thing about Muthoot Finance is, I said we are giving gold loan, and in fact, gold loan is one down to earth product, I must say, because we give loan only against the used household gold items alone. We don't give loans against any bullion or any coins or any kind of pure gold. Rather, new gold, we don't give it loan. We give it loan for the ornaments used at households. And so those are ornaments which are very dear to them. So the customers always have a trust in the company. That trust is always translated into a loan with the Muthoot Finance. And so we also take up, very carefully, we handle those issues, and we always take care to deal with the customer in a very, very, consistent manner, so that he doesn't have a grievance about the company. And every day at our counters, we service around 2 lakh customers across our country. Because as of September, we had 4,275 branches across the country. So you can imagine how many customers coming to our counters every day. So that is the kind of customer stickiness with us. And if you look at our customers additions, new customers coming to our company, in fact, North is adding more customers to our fold every month or rather every day. If you, as a region, if you look at, in fact, Northeast and West Bengal is adding the maximum number of new customers into our fold, though we are a company originally originated from Kerala. So this is a kind of acceptance, this is a kind of trust that you have built up over the years. And the complaint resolution mechanism that we have employed in our company is actually focused on the customer trust. And we don't want to spoil the trust they have on us, because if in the gold loan sector, I may be repeating on this, but then in the gold loan sector, our immediate competitor is actually 3 times lesser than our number. That's the kind of numbers that we have built up. And in fact, if you look at the complaint that is received by this company, our company is, all along been able to reduce the complaints, or rather keep the complaints to a minimum position. In fact, if you look at our immediate competitor, they always have a complaint of 3 times, 4 times of our size, though their advance is actually, in fact, 1/3 of the kind of advances that we have. So what I saw in Muthoot Finance is the kind of customer care that we have already been showing, and we have many arms to do that, like the call center where they can approach and get a complaint resolved. We have given them a what you call a dedicated email ID through which they can call. Of course, they can go to the branch and get it solved in the first instance. If that doesn't happen, they can use all these methods. We have an app, we call it iMuthoot. Through the app, they can raise their issues. So we are at our head office or in the corporate offices, what we ensure is any complaint or every complaint that is received by us is looked into at the earliest. So now maximum time that we take for resolution of a complaint, or rather to looking at the complaint, is 24 hours. Within 24 hours, the complaint must be responded to. That's the guideline that we have given internally. And then if there are issues which cannot be solved that easily, then there will be some discussion, some kind of compromise formula being worked out, and finally we arrive at a solution part. So this is how we are in a position to resolve the customer complaints. It is not that we don't have complaints. We also have complaints, I told you, because we have around 2 lakh customers coming into our counters across the country in a day. So naturally, some of these complaints, that some of these customers may get aggrieved. That is okay. That is in the system, because we cannot have a situation where all your customers are always happy. You cannot have that kind of situation, especially because you are dealing with their precious asset, that is their gold, their own household gold. So our aim is to lessen the complaint, to lessen their waiting time at the counters. We have dedicated teams to look at the chart of the gold, release, pledges, everything happening in the branches. The maximum time we are given the branches to give a new gold loan is 10 minutes for a customer. For a existing customer to take a new loan is only 10 minutes and 20 minutes maximum. So that's how we are in a position to rise to the expectations of the customers, and always try to reduce the customer grievances at the counters. And finally, let me tell you, we always emphasize, because there was a discussion about the trainings that we give in the counters. So we have two centralized training centers, one in Ernakulam and one in Delhi. There we give for all the training programs that we have, whether it is an induction program or there's a what you call a refresher program. All these programs will have one session exclusively given for the customer grievance redressal part. So there, some of our people will talk. Some of the classes I myself will go and talk to the team members. So we have given highest priority for customer, care and customer grievance resolution. So that's how we manage it. And finally, instead of the old adage where we were told that your customer is your king, today we tell our team members that customer is not a king, customer is God. That's what we want to tell them. And so when you respect God in such a way, you have to respect your customers also, the way that you respect your God. That's the teaching that we give to them. So That could be one reason why we are able to reduce the customer complaints and move along with them, especially when we have maximum number of customers coming to our counters. So that's all from me for the moment. We will stop it right across. Then when we have discussions generally, then we will discuss further on whatever, further things that we should be able to discuss and find the solution. Thank you so much. Thank you for your patient hearing.
Thank you so much, sir. Some knowledgeable insights. Moving on, I would request ma'am is here with us. I would request her to continue with her presentation. Ma'am, your voice is not audible, ma'am.
You're on mute, ma'am.
Okay, you can hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. So first of all, thanks for being patient, because I somehow logged in, logged out, and I started much early, but it happens sometimes.
No
So so to start with, just a slight disclaimer: I'm more of a complaint resolution person than all the other roles that I have done, and currently the internal ombudsman. So grievance redressal is very much in my blood, and I love not just speaking about it, but I really feel for the customer and for the employees who handle the customer. So I'll give, I'll just take you through, what is a complaint. I know by definition, it's all very clear. And what are the, challenges that are faced in resolving customer grievances, the best practices in designing and, having an effective redressal system. And then I'll take it forward from there. So I have a presentation, but I don't want to attempt sharing now because of the goof up that happened. So I'll go through it, but I'll take everyone through through what I have put together. So just in very simple terms, the health of any company is reflected by the way they resolve a customer complaint or a customer grievance. So just by the way a company does it, whether its systems are working, whether its processes are working. And as Mr. Thomas said that all the things that you do need to actually reflect to the customer, and the health of any company can be easily found out by the way they redress customer grievances. So just to put it in a very, very simple words, there is a customer and there is a business. Now the customer pays to get a good or service. Very clearly, there is a payment, there is a transaction that happens. Now, but when does the customer really need help? The customer needs help to use the product fully. Because he has paid for it, he needs to get the best out of the product. He doesn't know how to use it, and that's when he wants help. He doesn't know what to do with it, how to use the product. A promise which is made to the customer is not fulfilled, or there is a breakdown of service. Now, in gold loans, it could be something. In the funds transfer, it could be something. Trying to do a funds transfer is not able to do it, or the system just goes off. So those are the kinds of things that happen to a customer. So now, because he has paid and because he's not getting this, he has a grievance. But what should he know? So he needs to know the process. So once he has a grievance, he should know the process by which or what should he do. The second thing he needs to know is where he should go, because the customer sometimes goes to a branch sends him to the call center sends him and tells him to write an email and various other things. Sometimes he doesn't even know the email ID. So the customer needs to know where to go, and the customer needs to know who to speak to. So this is the crux of the situation. I have bought a product, I'm having a problem, I need to go, but I don't know where to go, I don't know how to go, and I don't know to whom I should go. So he wants his problem to be solved, and the problem gets solved means what? Solution. When we say resolve, it clearly means that it should be resolved to his satisfaction and within a committed time. So once these two things happen, then customer's grievance has been redressed. So these are the two very key components of grievance redressal. Now, if we move on to customer trust. So the customer needs to trust the company. But for trust, he just needs two things. When does he trust? One, when the company is consistent. Whenever he has approached any company, they have solved his problem. That's when he gets the trust. And second is that the resolution promise has been fulfilled. So we have told him, okay, I'll give you XYZ, but we don't actually give it. So when he gets what has been promised to him, that's when a grievance is completely resolved. So there are challenges. It seems simple, but when there are multiple customers and there is this big organization, there are many challenges. So one challenge is clearly process to complain. From the customer point of view, of course, it is that he should know how to complain, where to complain. But from the company side, they don't get all the complaints because the customer is going all over the place. They're not able to gather the complaints, and that's a challenge for the company. The second big problem is reach, as I said. So that means, is the call center number working? Am I able to get through the call center? Is the email ID working? There could be multiple email IDs, and there are instances where uh, individuals give their email IDs, especially in banks and the relationship managers. They say, okay, whenever you have a problem, you contact me. So the customer has various email IDs. So reach is a problem for the customer as well as for the company, because they need to consolidate that which goes all over the place. The third thing is understanding the problem. So now the customer has managed to somehow reach the right person, but now comes the next question. What he is saying and what the person is understanding, are they on the same plane? So understanding the problem is one of the challenges at both sides. The other challenge is resolving the problem. So when we say resolving it, though he's able to talk to somebody, but the somebody who the customer is talking to is not the person who's going to do the action. The action will be done by somebody at the back end. So now this piece needs to also be tied together. So resolving the problem is a challenge again for both the company as well as the customer. And of course, with that comes meeting the turnaround time. So if 7 days has been committed by the front line, then are we actually, being able to deliver whatever we have said in the 7 days time? So there are challenges at both the sides. But there are certain best practices that need to be followed by companies. And I will take you through, I mean, there's something that I've studied, like, for the 20 years that I've actually, handled customers. So I will just take you through the best practices that any company should follow. If it's large, then yes, all the more. If it's small, also they need to follow. So the first one is foundation. Foundation really would mean that the management intent needs to be clear. So in the sense that if the management says that, yeah, we want to be the best company in the world, we want to be world-class leaders, etc., it is not understood in action by the person in the front line. The front line clearly needs to be told, we want to be a company who resolves a customer issue completely, or we want to be a company who manages and resolves things very quickly. So the in simple words, management intent needs to be very clear. That forms a foundation of grievance redressal. The second is a conducive structure, which really means is that is the company structure such that the customer service team or the grievance redressal team is able to influence the others to do their work. Quite often you might find, and it happens in companies, that the person who's doing customer service is actually pleading around, please do kind of stuff. They're not able to use their authority to be able to do so. At what level have people been kept? Is there a review mechanism whereby a senior person is actually reviewing all the teams together? So there are various ways by which the structure of the company itself needs to be conducive to a good grievance redressal. The third important thing is what you are measuring. So the measurement has to be in context to what is the kind of business you're doing, and are you really tracking what you want? Because there's so much of data collection that happens, and by the day it's only increasing. It's very important to track the right metrics. And last but not the least, in the foundation is the definition of a complaint. So what really do we define as a complaint? Are we very clear on that? And only when we get that right is when we take the next few steps. So the first, best practice to design a grievance redressal mechanism is foundation. The next one is prediction, and in prediction, the teams who manage complaints, as sir said, if there are 2 lakh customers, then how many estimated complaints are we likely to get, and how we are going to resolve them? Do we have enough people? So there's a volume factor, there's a channel factor, whether they're coming to the branch or email or WhatsApp, whatever channels that we have opened up, whether we are reachable. Have we checked the email IDs and the phone numbers, etc., that customers are able to reach us? And the last but not the least, are we ready for escalations? Those that go to the management, those complaints that go to Reserve Bank of India, and that setting up that structure itself is also very important to be able to manage a good grievance redressal mechanism. The third one is, of course, resolution. What's very important in resolution is the empowerment. And when we say empowerment, it's not just financial empowerment, but also in terms of knowledge. People should know from where they can get information and how that resolution, how they can help the customer. The processes are set right. And at every point of time, the customer is informed of where his complaint has reached. So whether it's being handled, it'll take 7 days, and he needs to know that something is happening about the complaint that he has put. And of course, the most important is prevention, root cause analysis on an ongoing basis, and the action that is taken based on the root cause analysis, and then of course tracking the progress. Otherwise, we keep handling the same complaints again and again. So some of the initiatives and examples that I would like to just share, which we would have handled in day to day. I just some of the initiatives that were taken. Most of them are real. So one of them is in credit cards. Of course, this is many years back. Today we don't have physical statements. But when customers used to call saying, I did not get my statement, so I did not make payment. And then the process would start on, oh, when did I dispatch? When did you receive? Did you receive? Call the POD, etc. And when a call was taken on, it just costs us so much. Why don't we trust the customer once or twice? So you empower the front line to say, okay, for the first 2 times you allow the customer to make late payment, you reverse the late payment charges. And, that's one of the initiatives which reduced customer angst to a very, very large extent. The other one is also for the frontline to have information. Primarily, if you look at it, say dispatch information. If the frontline is given the information, they are able to give it to the customer, and it solves a lot of problems. It solves the problem of customer contacting again and again. One of the there's another thing that has happened now in the financial industry, at least in India, we know that if one company does something and it is good, others quickly follow. So you don't have to invent. Everyone doesn't have to do invention. They just need to know that, yes, there are certain, if this one has got it right, let me also try. And one of those things was adding email capability to CRM. So that means on the call itself, if there is an email capability, customer wants something there and then it is given to the customer. So there are a few more, examples that I could, take you through. One of them is this penny drop. So whenever we're doing a funds transfer, that small amount that gets checked, and that has saved so many problems for so many people of wrong funds transfer, etc. So there are, a lot of initiatives that many companies are taking. Sometimes we need to invent them, sometimes just pick them up from here and there. Now coming to the role of the regulator. Regulator plays an extremely important role in, grievance redressal. So one of the first, most important that I feel is that a consumer is an individual and the business is a large corporation. Now, when you have an individual and a large corporation, they are no match. They're not equals. And that's where the regulator, plays a very important role. One is because we deal with money and finance. And the second thing is that there need to be fair dealings. It's always the bigger one who can, manage the consumer. The second thing is the regulator lays down guidelines for measurement criteria and definition. Now that's very important because it creates uniformity and standardization between companies. They're not, defining things differently. And the second thing is it brings about self-regulation. So, once the finance companies, the BFSI segment, actually, everybody knows that this is what is being tracked. There is a kind of self-regulation which is quite important, very important rather. And of course, the structure for redressal. So the regulator has, has the ombudsman scheme, the banking ombudsman and other regulatory bodies who deal with customer issues when they go beyond the companies. And of course, the internal ombudsman scheme, which where, before the customer actually needs to go out, he can be handled and dealt with the company. So grievance redressal is not easy, but yes, it's come a very long way, and everybody has a role to play in good grievance redressal mechanisms. We have a lot of systems, that have come up which help in tracking, in workflow, etc. So which we may, take on a little later. So that's what I have to share with the whole management of grievance redressal.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your invaluable insights with us. Now I would request Puneet sir to share his thoughts on this topic.
Mute.
Yeah. Thanks, Ambhav, and thanks, Satindra ma'am. You gave a valuable insight on the how grievance redressal systems work in bank. A lot of learning was there for me, and even what Thomas sir has told us, a lot of learning, and I think similarly the audience has been given some valuable inputs. So we have seen that there are a lot of problems. Ma'am has just said that grievance redressal is not easy. So yeah, so it's completely true. Grievance redressal is not easy. So until unless there is a proper process that is being followed at the banks level or any of the financial sector company, that the grievance redressal cannot be completed. So we have seen people standing in queues. We have seen people visiting various counters in the banks and for their grievance redressal. Still, they don't get grievance redressal. So here is a company that comes up with called PayTM, which comes up with a grievance redressal on chatbot. So now, earlier, what happens in traditional banking, people used to have a relationship with the bank manager, with the bank staff, and then they try to resolve their own complaints. But now grievance redressal has been changed completely, a turnaround shift, because due to the advancement of the AI technology, banking, now paradigm shift is there in resolving complaints through chatbot. Now customer don't have to rely on any bank staff or any manager to get their redressal system. Again, chatbot, like we have new system like ChatGPT, which actually read the whatever complaint, whatever customer wants to say, whatever the grievance he or she is having, and give response according to it. So that's a new system that is being aligned in most of the bankings. Now banks are working on it still, but there are few challenges that banks are not able to complete. Banks are not able to resolve the customer complaints. So how we thought then what is then how can a customer get the resolution? So Reserve Bank has done a lot of study on this. They have made a system which is not available in any other country in this world. They have their own schemes which resolves customer grievances and that are cost free. We have integrated ombudsman scheme which is launched by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on 8th of November 2021. So this scheme actually this culminated various other schemes like NBFC scheme, banking ombudsman scheme, and digital ombudsman scheme into one scheme which is called as integrated ombudsman scheme. This scheme takes all the acts of banking regulation, Reserve Bank of India Act and Payment Settlement Act, and thereby resolves the complaint of the customer. A customer can reach to ombudsman. It's very easy and cost-free. All the links that are available on the bank website, on any of the bank website, if a customer do not get a resolution within 30 days of lodging a complaint with the bank, or he is not satisfied with the resolution that is being provided by the bank, then customer can raise complaint to the Reserve Bank of India. Now, I would like to talk about how this scheme functions. So what RBI has done, they have appointed ombudsman, a deputy ombudsman in their offices, who and various other staff also who understand what are the customer grievances. They act as an advocate for the customer and get a resolution from the bank. So they understand where the bank, where the deficiency in service is there in the bank, and they try to get resolves all the issues that customer has raised in their grievances. So as I just said, that the ombudsman and deputy ombudsman, they both work cohesively in understanding what are the grievances. They try to get the RC of all the complaints that are being raised to the various banks. They accumulate their experiences with the resolution part, and then further gives their inputs to their internal CBD, Consumer Education Protection Department, to further enhance the grievance redressal policies of the banks as well as to the financial sector. So I just want to, what are the powers of this ombudsman or deputy ombudsman are having? So anyone who raises the complaint, there is no limit of amount to which a complaint can be raised. Plus, if a ombudsman or deputy ombudsman found there's a deficiency in the service of the bank, then they can award a compensation of approximately 20 lakhs. So this is the amount of compensation that a customer can get if their resolution not resolved. This alone factor is important to know that why bank do not invest in the grievance redressal system. So grievance redressal system is at most important for a company to survive. So just want to talk about what type of complaints that can be raised by the customer on the Reserve Bank of India integrated ombudsman portal. Wherever a customer finds there's a deficiency in this service, and they find that their issues are not being addressed by the customer, their issue not addressed by the bank, then a customer can raise those complaints to the Reserve Bank of India. However, there are some exclusion in this. So any complaint that is being raised to Reserve Bank of India within the 30 days, then it is treated as a first resort complaint and is not being dealt by ombudsman or deputy ombudsman. Any complaint which is sub judice, a matter is in court or matter is under jurisdiction, then such complaints are also not taken up by the ombudsman. Any commercial judgment of the bank, let's say if some bank decide that they don't want to lend in some area of the country, then there is a commercial decision. So then such type of complaints cannot be taken by the ombudsman. Any dispute between a bank or a vendor is not taken by the ombudsman. A grievance that is against the employee or staff of the bank is not taken by the ombudsman. So there are some exclusion which I've talked about. So these type of complaints are not taken up by the ombudsman. So what customer needs to have before filing a complaint? So they should always have a rejection letter from the bank where their complaint is not being resolved, or they are not satisfied with the resolution. They can log into the RBI CMS portal and they can lodge their complaints. Plus, the complaint that is being raised should be in last 1 year. So if customer wants to raise a complaint against a transaction or an deficiency in service which are more than 1 year old, so such type of complaint cannot be lodged because ombudsman can treat them as non-maintainable complaints. Any complaint, sometimes customer have a habit of raising multiple complaints. So if complaints are being raised on a multiple occasion, then such type of complaints are not being addressed or they are closed under the previous judgment. So that's all I have for integrated ombudsman. Thanks. Over to you, Sambhav.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your insights with us. And thank you to all the speakers for sharing their experience and insights with us. Now we move on to the final part of our webinar, which is the question and answer session. So before the seminar started, we had asked a focus group to share some of the questions that they would like to ask our esteemed panelists today. Based on the questions received by us, we have compiled a list of the most relevant questions that we'll be sharing here. So I'll just quickly share my screen with you all. Yeah. Is my screen visible to you all?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. So ma'am, the first question is for you. What technological advancements have you witnessed in the grievance mechanisms within the finance industry over the past few decades?
Huge, absolutely huge. When we start talking about, in fact, in the late 90s till now, so, see, today technology and internet as a combination, they have changed the way we do things. We do everything, in fact, not just our banking and, other transactions. And lots of new channels have also opened up. So, earlier, it was branch, as we said, and then email was used sparingly, and now we have mobile chatbots, we have AI, and not just that, we have integration of one with the other, and there are multiple integrations that happen. As Puneet was saying that you have a customer can resolve his issues on WhatsApp, and I mean it's that easy now. But if you really ask me, we've come a long way. We started with spreadsheets. We used to have these Excel spreadsheets. People used to key in information in that. And I remember once there were some 200, 300 people we had who were using the same spreadsheet. And every time they were saving the spreadsheet, the name used to change. It was that kind of time when there weren't systems available, unlike today where they are. But let me just tell you, after spreadsheets came workflow systems, where you could put in data in one place where someone else could access that data and then solve customer issues. After that came CRM. CRM basically, had all customer data in it. So you didn't have to key in customer details, name, number, etc., etc. And it had the data of customers in it. And that with the combination of workflow, it started then, that became a very evolved system which moved to omni-channel. So today's customer expectations are that if I am, if I've written something on email to a company, then even when I, ask the question on WhatsApp, the company should be able to answer. So omni-channel is now, I mean, is another advancement in grievance redressal. And artificial intelligence has again now added to all this. But while we talk about technological advancements, there's just one caveat that I want to put here. See, whenever we talk technology, we talk about the best technology by the best institution, and that's the best that happens. But what really is there is that all companies are in different stages of integration. They are in different stages of development, and sometimes the larger companies, different departments are also at different stages. So while we technology has advanced so much, but companies are at different pace. They keep wanting to do things. So there will always be a lag between companies, between departments. But my take on this whole thing is whatever is the technological advancement, the fundamentals of grievance redressal or customer management, the fundamentals will always remain the same. That you have to attend to the customer and solve his problem by whichever way that you want. Sambhav, I'm done. Over to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your answer. Moving on to the next question. So, Thomas, I would request you to take this question. The question is, what initiatives have you implemented to train your staff, which includes call center and branch executives, to ensure that grievances received at initial levels are effectively addressed?
Yeah, for me, this is a great question. In fact, as I said in my, introductory discussions, ours is a company with around 5,000 branches all across the country, and we have a staff strength of around 28,000. So the idea of training them and telling them what to do and what not to do was not an easy call. But then we are able to get people around the idea of customer grievances. I said in the beginning that we have two big corporate offices, one in Kerala and one in Delhi. There we have big training facilities. So every class we have handled there, every session that we handle there, we'll talk about the customer grievance resolution part one. And then in the regional setup, we have around 60 branches in a region. So we have a regional training centers in all the regions. 76 regions we have in the country. So all these 76 regions have a regional training center, RTC, what we call. There again, the people are called for direct training, and then they conduct online training also. There also the importance of customer grievance resolution is discussed about, and the staff are prompted to act promptly on the customer complaints. And much important was not to create a customer complaint. That was the important assignment given to them. And then our auditors, we have around 1,200 auditors in the country, internal auditors. They travel to these branches and they meet people. At least one auditor will go to one branch in a month. So when these auditors go to the branches, they are given a study material kind of thing and in their computers, and they are asked to take a class of at least 1 hour at every branch, where they should be talking about the KYC part and about the customer knowledge level, and plus how to resolve customer complaints and how to solve issues that is at branches. Especially they will be given a dossier of customer complaints or other complaints that was outstanding in these branches. So they will have an idea about the branch and the branch nature of customer grievances and the type of customers, or rather the demands of the customers according to each area. So these auditors are actually our first hand, or rather the first touch points for the branches, where they go and feel the branch and they go and touch the customer, touch the staff, and then they talk to them at least 1 hour a day. They must be talking to this branch staff, and that also will include the training on the customer grievance redressal part. So that's how we manage it. Plus, we have multiple channels, as I said in the beginning. We have a call center where we receive complaints. We have a dedicated email ID from all across the country. People can, give us mails on that, and we have the app for all the, customer requirements, where we separate, area for raising customer complaints. So all these are built in the system, and in fact, after I said I joined last April. So April itself, we started one program called TAT management. So we have given time for each activity for which the customer comes to the branch. If they come to commit interest for the loan, they'll take only 5 minutes. That was the commitment. In fact, that timing is displayed in the branches. And if an existing customer is coming to take a new gold loan, then they'll be given the loan within 10 minutes. When a new customer with a new KYC comes to the branch, he'll be given the loan, or she will be given the loan within 20 minutes. That was the commitment. So that was one, thing that we started last year to gauge the TAT taken at the branches. And each month we have a review of this TAT, and we discuss it threadbare at each regional offices if there was delay in the TAT management, and what was the reasons. As I said, we have around 5,000 branches. So the connectivity was one big issue that we have seen in many places. For that, we have taken actions, and we have reduced the connectivity issues with the new, lines of what you call internet linkage and all that. So all that is being addressed. So the company as a whole is alive to this idea of customer grievance, and we always try to manage it properly, so that the customers, because our customers, when they pledge their gold with us, they trust us. That is very important, because if you don't trust a in a banker or a NBFC where they pledge their gold, their precious properties physically with us. We need to be very, very mindful of their feelings. So we are telling our people, our staff all across that when they park their, gold with you, they expect you to be very perfect in returning the gold on time and, give them the proper service. So that is being, made a point everywhere in whatever discussions we have, whatever reviews that we take up. One subject will be the customer grievance redressal part. So overall, we are happy about how we manage the customer grievances through all these means that we discussed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That's very helpful. I was just thinking maybe we can take someone from the live audience as well, in addition to the earlier question we received. So we have Mr. Pramod Vaidya who's raised his hand. I'm just, if you can ask your question now, if you can unmute and ask. You're on mute, Mr. Vaidya. Can you unmute?
Okay, I am unmuted. I already sent 2 questions on the chat box, which give the details of what particular question I have in mind, and I would like Ms. Satinder Kaur to respond to that. First thing,
Okay.
Second question first. You did mention a lot about the technological advances, but as a banker with 35 years experience, I personally feel that more and more technological advances have also led to more and more centralization, and the discretion at the branch level, which really handles the customer, has gone down. I have personally I was at the receiving end after leaving the bank, and I know that this really hurts. Branch managers must have discretion to respond to a customer positively if the manager feels that what customer says is right. You cannot simply transfer that to your central office and expect that somebody will take care.
Okay, so I'll answer this on a very neutral basis, in the sense that I don't know the specific issue, so I won't get into that. But I'll just tell you how this should work. Okay, the point is that there are there is a lot of work that needs to go behind centralization. So like centralization is an operational thing, in the sense that there are people who are specialists who are doing that kind of work, and that's like also when you have technology, that is what happens. But centralization at no point of time should mean that the person who is actually handling the customer is powerless. And that's exactly what I was trying to say, that the back office functions need to be as effective as with centralization. So I'll just give an example. I'll try to give an example. See, the thing is that supposing you did not get a checkbook, very simple. It's a very simple thing. You asked for a checkbook, you did not get a checkbook. Now, it is not just that the person who you told that I did not get the checkbook took your letter, asked you to write a letter, example, and put the letter in the drawer. Now, that's not how it should be. Now, if this person is not in a position to give a checkbook, then ideally this person should be able to put it into some system, and where it goes should ensure that it reaches you in 7 days. So the helplessness that we are trying to see, that we see, is of the person, because that company, whichever bank it is, has not empowered the front line enough and has not set a pakka process in place to make sure that that happens. Like example I was giving you, we don't really need technology because the fundamental has to be right. Now, when we say we don't need technology, what we are trying to say is that dispatch details, for example, if the dispatch details, even if they are available on a spreadsheet, and the central office is sending it to every branch saying that your branch, I received 10 requests, look, this is what the dispatch status is, you would feel as a customer very empowered. So processes, what has happened and is that we centralize, we run many processes thinking technology is controlling us, and we as people don't do the people part of it. So I'll give, if you mind, can I just extend the answer?
Yeah, sure, ma'am, sure.
We have the time. So I was, while Mr. Thomas was, talking about training and what was going on in my mind, I was just writing down, and why I thought, I'll just take that little forward. The interaction with a customer is only 20%, okay, of the entire transaction. So if I go to the branch, that is only 20%, whether the person speaks nicely to me, whether they make me sit or not, whether, they help me out. But 80% of the rest is to do with the process. And if the bank has not set the process right, whether there is technology or no technology, the customer will not feel happy about it.
Can I extend this further?
I'll try, but it's up to the moderator.
Can I give you some specifics on this?
No, sir. So I'm not very sure, because see, you can understand my position. I have worked in 2 banks. In fact, I was internal ombudsman in one bank. I'm an internal ombudsman in another NBFC, and it's not fair. We can talk outside the this program.
No, I would like to make this point that technology should be for empowerment of people.
Yes.
Banks are using technology for cost reduction. The main driver seems to be cost reduction, not empowerment of people. That's precisely right. My complaint.
That's not right. The bank should do enough to empower people as well as reduce cost, and both work hand in hand. We cannot do one without the other.
Both the things have to go together, and banks unfortunately are not doing it right now.
Thank you.
Second question which I have already sent to you was regarding cross-selling. Quite a few banks now do a whole lot of cross-selling. As customers, we trust banks, and whatever they say, we accept it generally without taking full effort to cross-verify things. But in case of third-party products, banks do not train their people adequately, and there are instances of aggressive selling and mis-selling. Now, how do we protect customers from that?
So I think the regulator has taken this very strongly, and mis-selling complaints are looked at very seriously even by the regulator. There are lots of norms, and as we said, that's it's like in the radar, if you might, if I might just say. Not just the regulator, in fact, they come down very strongly. Mr. Thomas gave some examples of how the regulator has even stopped some companies from doing certain kind of products, certain selling. There are certain requirements that you need to be qualified to be able to sell, products like mutual funds and insurance, etc. So, I think till the time it stabilizes, it's not right, but I think the regulator has taken a very strong stand. That's what I must say about this particular thing.
Sir, I just want to add,
sort of having a soft glove treatment for public sector banks in this, because I have dealt with both private sector and public sector banks, and everybody is cross-selling, but some private sector banks, because they have been wrapped down the knuckles, have started investing in training for their people, ensuring that people undergo certification, but that still doesn't happen in public sector banks.
So you'll have to complain.
So, sir, you can raise complaints. So various regulators have given the forum where you can raise the complaint to RBI, to IRDAI, as well as SEBI. So whatever the product that has been sold in the bank, then you can raise complaint to these regulators.
Thank you so much, ma'am and sir, for answering these questions. I'll just move on to the third question that we have.
Yeah.
Thank you. So the third question that we have is what, Puneet, I would request you to take this question. The question is, what AI tools are you currently utilizing to streamline processes at PayTM Payments Bank?
So I'll talk about the AI technology. So just talked about on this in my webinar also. Chat GPT is being the latest technology that is being used. It's across all the banks and across all the financial systems as of now. What this technology does is they track the human written language and they get the what the information is, and then they analyze into the system and then give the output to the customer. And I think this is a most successful technology as of now, and all the banks and financial companies are running on it. They are trying to inculcate chat GPT into their system so that grievance redressal system can be streamlined.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Moving on to the next question. Ma'am, I would request you to take this question. The question is, how important is root cause analysis from the company's perspective in understanding the issues that at the grassroots levels?
It's very important. So root cause analysis, I think, is the crux, as I said, and when I was trying to explain that prevention is, better than cure, as we've always said. So to prevent issues from arising, to reduce certain categories of issues, to eliminate certain categories, it's very important. We need to identify the gaps to the roots, because sometimes what we see is not what is the actual issue. The issue manifests itself in some way. Like we were just saying, it's not about the person. It is about the training given to the person, or it is about the database which is available to the person to, answer a customer. So on a very broad basis, root cause analysis, is extremely useful. And I'll just tell you 4 or 5 ways in which it is very useful. So one is that it reduces the turnaround time, because when you actually find out what's gone wrong and why it has gone wrong, is it because of the handoffs that happen? Is it because there is a delay? Is it because there is some courier issue? So it clearly reduces turnaround time for the company as well as the customer. Second is it reduces cost of the process, because it, root cause analysis helps in reducing rework, the multiple times that we do the same thing. It reduces the cost of the process, improves the customer experience, and it improves the quality of the product, because customers also give information. There's some sign. Okay. Customers give a lot of feedback and a lot of information to the company. And when a root cause analysis is done very, in a very good way, it actually tells what the problems are. And there are 2 ways in which, I'll just explain it in a little more detail. There are 2 categories of root cause analysis. So one is to look at a bulk and say that this process needs to be looked at. So when we look at a process, we look at in general how the process is running. So, you will say, okay, if the form is moving from point A to point B, then what could be the broad issues? So that's one way of looking at it. And the second way of looking at it is to look at one individual complaint, just a single complaint, and get to the root of it. So for example, if we say customer says there is a delay in something, then we actually look at, okay, when the customer came to the branch, for example, then what really happened? Then did he give it before 4 o'clock, after 4 o'clock? Is the cutoff time 2 o'clock, which is too early? Now, those kind of things one will be able to do only when you do an individual root cause analysis. So there is a difference in which both these, in root cause analysis is done. It's like one big chapter, but I'll just, in simple words, it's this way. But on the broad basis, what are the kind of, if you talk about banks, NBFCs, what are the kind of causes that actually emerge out of doing a good root cause analysis? So one of them is communication and interaction related issues. So many times we find that the sales or the recovery teams, we find interaction issues. So those need to be looked at in, deeply. The second is errors. We actually find errors, and even if you find one error and you're able to plug the gap, it creates, it helps in a very big way in avoiding errors in the future. So these are operational in nature, a mistake, a name which is keyed in wrongly. Then you try and find a way by which that can be corrected. An amount, I'll give us, an example which today we think is a normal course thing. When funds transfers used to be done, the very much in the beginning, we used to enter the account number once. Then later on, it was realized that the customer sometimes keys in a wrong number. So then, and the system was, the process was changed to let the customer enter the number second time. Then it was realized that the customer looks at the number at the top and then, keys in the second number. So the second number started getting masked. So that is how, changes happen in the system, but they happen only because someone has got into why a particular problem has happened. Then there are, of course, process issues which emerge where the process itself, either it is not there or it is wrongly set, or, sometimes the process can be improved. And last, but of course not the least, it is systems and product improvements that happen out of root cause analysis. So very clearly, I think it's off use. Of course, you resolve a customer issue, but if you're not doing the prevention leg of it, taking action, making sure it is closed, it will not really have an impact on the overall experience of the customer. So you'll only be, resolving more and more complaints. So that's it about, root cause. Individual root cause analysis, I think, is the key.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. So moving on to the next question, Thomas, to take this question. The question is, how do you manage complaints received through multiple channels, and how do you manage repeat complaints from customers when customers are sending similar complaints again and again?
This is very relevant to a company like ours because we have multiple channels to receive complaints because our branch network is huge and the reach is also very high. So we have, as I said earlier, we have a call center, we have a dedicated email ID, we have the branches, the regional offices, the zonal offices. So there are multiple channels, of course. But what we ensure is we have an internally developed program where all these centers, the call center, the email, there are around 2 or 3 people looking at the emails every time. So all of them, key in these details into our internal system so that at one point we are able to get a feel of all the complaints that has come. Then the initiative is, as I said earlier, again, 24 hours is the time that we have taken on ourselves to resolve it. And if it is a straightforward kind of a complaint, and if we need support from seniors or support from orders from higher ups, then it is referred to the higher ups, and finally a resolution is found. So normally in all cases, normally if it is a decision to reject that complaint will go to the internal ombudsman within a maximum of 7 days. Though the statute says it can be around 21 days for the ombudsman to receive the complaint which is not resolved by the company. So a complaint which is not resolved will normally come to the ombudsman's place within a maximum period of 7 days. So all complaints received through various channels will be channeled together, and answers found and resolutions found, and if it is not resolved fully, then it will come to the ombudsman. So that's a process that we have in place. And of course, there are some cases where a repeat customer events happens and where people are not happy the way things are moving. So that's all there in the system because we are working in multiple geographies, multiple areas, multiple customer bases. So that challenge is always there, but then we ensure that the complaints are kept to a minimum. In fact, after my joining, I had visited around 100 branches of the company just to understand the customer behavior and customer how they respond to the branches when the customer complaint is raised and it is resolved. So in fact, I had gone to one branch where actually it was situated inside a fish market. You can imagine how a fish market will work. So inside the fish market, when you enter the branch, the fish, the bamboo, what you call baskets, which is carried, which is used to carry the fish, will be, placed on the staircases. The staircase doesn't belong to the branch. It is belonging to the landlord. So that is natural to have it there. So when we were entering, first you imagine it is a fish market. Second, you imagine all across you have all these problems. So when you enter the branch, you are entering there in a disgust mode. Like, you say you are already inside a busy area in a market where, the kind of atmosphere is not very acceptable. But why I went to that branch was that was a branch which was having more than 25 crore of business, and the per day customer, footfall in the branch was around 60. So I thought 60 customers coming to your place every day and, taking the services, there could be something there special. So I entered the branch, but inside the branch, you don't have any chaos there. They have kept it very neat, clean, drinking water for the customers. There's a security in front of the branch. Every time a customer enters or, leaves, he, gladly opens the door for him, ensures that the outside problems are not inside the branch. So that's how we, this was one branch where we were getting, complaints repeatedly. But we have ensured the regional head there, the zonal head there, all of them, came together and found that we need air conditioners for the branch. We need a strong, entry level, security there. So all that has come in place within 6 months when the complaint was coming to us, continuously. Now we ensure that the branch is growing nicely. The customers are not minding the fish market part because fish market is outside for them. Inside they get best service. So this is one, example I always carry with my. When I talk to this in the classes also, when I talk to other people, you give them experience, not a service. I tell them give the customer experience. So they come inside and they experience the branch and go out. They are not given a service. Service is something very common. You give them an experience. That is what I tell them, and they do it. So that branch is now actually shining, and they are doing good. And the repeated customer complaint which was coming are now stopped from the branches. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Moving on to our next question. I would request Puneet sir to answer this question. The question is, how is the experience when liaising with RBI officials, and how stringent are they in ensuring timely resolution of grievances?
So it's a nice question, Sambhav. So this is very much close to my heart. I actually, day in, day out, I used to interact with the RBI officials, and
Yes.
not only one, I used to interact almost 5 to 6 RBI official on a day-to-day basis. And handling RBI official is a tedious task. It's not actually easy. The question actually centered around the timely resolution of grievances. So let me tell you. So post whatever the time duration has been given to the customer for raising complaints to RBI, in their RBI, in their integrated ombudsman scheme, have allowed banks to take 15 days for resolving a complaint. That is the time that has been given to all the regulated entities, and overall the TAT for a resolution of complaint is 30 days. That is when a complaint has been lodged to the RBI. However, sometimes we find that within 15 days also, this is like a practical situation. 15 days also, there are some challenges from the customers end or from the internal departments of the bank where we do not get a resolution. So on such occasion, dealing with RBI to handle how to close those resolutions is actually a tricky situation. So in such situation, what we do, we actually do a resolution. We don't let a decision that has to be taken by RBI. We take the help of our internal ombudsman or our PNO, principal nodal officers, to get the resolution within a stipulated time frame, and ensure that all grievances has to be resolved within 15 days. So we have to keep updated RBI on what is happening in the bank and how we are handling the customers. And we also sometimes gives customer a timeline within which we shall be responding to on a RBI complaint, though there is a rejection on that complaint earlier, but we now came to a conclusion that we now have to solve the complaint into the customer favor. So this is again a tricky situation. Handling RBI official is not that easy. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Moving on to the last question that we have for today. This question is related to errors in credit reporting. So we received these questions from a lot of people, and so I would request all the speakers to share their thoughts on this. The question is, how do you handle complaints related to errors in credit reporting, and what solutions do you believe exist to address this issue? Ma'am, I would request you to start off, and we'll discuss it through then.
Okay. So just going one step back, okay, how does this reporting happen? So the data comes from a system. It gets into the repository of the credit data wherever it is maintained. So all the errors, the data quality errors pass on from where the data is going to the credit agencies. So if you look at that as a cause and then move backwards, that is how I would look at it, and I can also tell you how I suggest it should be looked at. So one is, first of all, when a customer he realizes it first of all when he's about to take a loan. That is where it starts. And when he sees that there are certain loans which are showing against him, I hope I'm on the right track. If that's exactly that's a problem you're trying to solve, right? So when the person realizes that he has not taken a loan, but his name is appearing in the CIBIL sheet or whatever, and he's hence not able to take a loan. The first thing that needs to be done is to empathize with that person, because he's now going to get into a trap of at least 3 months to be able to solve that problem. So that's a starting point of it. The second thing is that actually, if you go back and companies can look at it also, 99% of the time it is that same data problem that I was talking about. But the resolution processes set by most companies are that the customer is supposed to provide data, which means that the first thing that someone tells a customer is, okay, you get us KYC documents, you get us this document, you get us that document. Now the problem is the guy has not taken the loan at all, and plus on top of it we are asking him to get documents. So handling this sensitively, I think, is the starting point on what should be done. The second thing is the companies should find ways to reduce the turnaround time to resolve these issues, because it actually takes a long time for the customer to solve it himself. Because once you say, okay, I've settled my portion, he'll have to go to 10 other companies possibly to go and solve the problem, find out what it is. So one is reduce the turnaround time. Starting point, be empathetic to the person and don't make him run around to get documents. And the third thing is, of course, do a root cause analysis to find out that from which system it has gone on. Is it a data entry issue? Is it gone, some data has missed out in going? The root cause analysis here is very important to know if there are multiple entries of a similar nature which have, had their impact. And there's one more thing that all companies need to do with all seriousness, that this kind of information doesn't go to one particular place. So it just doesn't go into CIBIL database. There is a hunter which some companies are using, Experian Hunter, for applications. There are many other systems to which information is shared. So when they find that there is a problem, the financial company, whoever it is, should make sure that information then is sent to all the other companies so that the customer is able to solve the problem in one go. This has been, my take on how this has to be handled, because there are legacy systems, and legacy systems don't necessarily have those, validation checks for the data that has been input into them some years ago. Today we might have those validations, and also a few years ago we didn't have Aadhaar, validation. We couldn't check PAN, etc. So there have been some, erroneous entries prevailing, which then get passed on to the credit agencies. But I think these 3 or 4 steps, 5 steps definitely need to be done by all.
Very true, very true. Thomas,
Yeah,
would you like
thank
to
you, ma'am. Thank you. I think I'll, start from where ma'am has ended it. The good thing is now all the rating agencies also are under ombudsman scheme. RB has included all of them under ombudsman scheme, so they also have a mechanism to, reduce the customer complaint. They are answerable to so many of us. That is one thing. Second is there is a fine now, prescribed for the rating agencies. If the delay is more than 30 days, for every day of delay, there has to be an amount paid to the customer. So these two things actually will make the life of the customers little more easier as far as the credit rating part is concerned. And for us in our company, we have a nodal officer exclusively for the rating complaints, the rate complaints. Like there's a team sitting, and this nodal officer has, interaction with almost all the rating agency, people. And as and when there is a complaint from a customer, especially like the way the ma'am was telling about the customer complaint on discount, she will talk to the people concerned there and find a way out to reduce the waiting time for the rating to be perfected. So that is how we manage it. But the good thing about the government and the RBI is the rating agencies are now come under ombudsman scheme. That's the best part about it, because since we have a ombudsman scheme inside our company and the bank, all of us are very, very mindful about the customers. So similarly, I think more understanding about the customer grievances, customer pain will be known by the rating agency also. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Puneet sir, I would request you to add also add your views on this.
So actually, most of the points have been covered by Satinder ma'am and Thomas sir. So just want to add. So most of the people don't know how many rating agencies are there. TransUnion, Sibyl, I think almost all of us are aware. There are three other companies, Experian, which ma'am have talked about. There is another company called Equifax, and the fourth one is CRIF HIMA. So what regulator is working very closely in reducing reducing the issues that are being there with the CICs. One I would like to talk about the format in which the data flows to the CICs from the regulated entity. So now what regulator is doing is making a common format, so that whatever the data that is being updated at one CIC has to be updated on others also, provided that CIC has done a due diligence. Other than this, there also, as sir has said, that all the CICs have been put in under the ombudsman scheme. So ombudsman scheme, what it facilitate that resolution has to be given a 30 days. Ideally, what happens? CIC takes 90 days to update whatever to rectify the errors or to update the credit systems. But now RBI has allowed them to update during this intervening period. So this certainly will help customers through to resolve their issues and to correct their credit records. Thanks so much.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for answering this question. So this was the last question that we had for this session, and Vishwam, over to you.
Thank you so much, Sambhav, for moderating. I can see we're already 6 minutes past our scheduled time to finish. So I think we'll just probably call it. I think there's anyways been an information overload, like hearing from obviously 3 different experts in the field. I've definitely learned a lot. It's probably also just too much to process as well. But thank you so much. I'd like to formally thank all the panelists, all the speakers. I think this was quite informative, quite helpful. And just learning from how you worked in this sphere, over the years. Satinder ma'am spoke about how technology sort of moved on from Excel sheets to CRM and various factors. I think that was quite fascinating. And then Puneet sir was adding about ChatGPT and AI. And I think Thomas sir, your point about training people on the ground and how you dealt with different branches. I think that was also quite interesting to see how practically it's been done. So thank you so much. I think this was wonderful. I'm sure all our audience members will also echo this. With your permission, we may also upload this on social media and YouTube so others can also watch it later and just learn from all the information and learnings you've shared. So thank you so much again. we look forward to sort of keeping in touch. And I'm sure, if some of the audience members have a question, they can reach out to you formally through LinkedIn and other mechanisms as well. But thank you so much. This was really, really helpful.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thanks, Vishwam. Thanks, Sambhav. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Learning for us also. I had learning for me also.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Same here, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.